Yes, I am naturally beautiful, or at least my left earlobe is. So, ask me things. Here I am. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you. Yes, I'm beautiful. Hmm. Is magic reformed in the realms? Magic has never gone away. Magic is everywhere. You mean, is the spell plague over? No, it isn't. For most people, it's past. Its effects have passed. It's rolling off into the distance, but there's still weirdness here and there. So that's the realms. But Storm Talons. Well met, all. Storm Talons is a chance to do high fantasy without the constraints of a game system. There are things that happen in the realms, like, for instance, an edition change and all the assassins dying, just like that. Or differences in things that classes do, or differences in the pantheon, or differences in the cosmology that shift from edition to edition of the game. And suddenly we have to explain them in game terms or not explain them. And that always creates some inconsistencies and difficulties. Infravision, dark vision from edition to edition, things like that. And I wanted a chance to do more pure storytelling, build another world without all of that. And the other thing is if I'm helming it, I have more of a say in what comes out when. I still want it to be a collaboration. That to me is the great fun of doing something like this. The chance to collaborate with others, the chance to riff creatively off each other and build a world together. But increasingly over the years, as the realms has grown and more people have become involved, outside licenses of all sorts, what you can do with character X becomes less and less because somebody else is using character X for a hand puppet or a lunchbox that once. And character X now has a past, a rich unfolding story that may negate some of the things you want to do with character X in your new story that you're writing right now. Now, I realize this is a problem that is not unique to the realms and will never go away, but I wanted a chance in Storm Talons, which is one of our many tag settings, and many tag settings because each one is a different genre. This is our swords and sorcery, but also high fantasy swords and sorcery setting. I wanted a chance to tell some different stories. That, for one thing, one of the things that happened early on in the realms is people brought a lot of the gods on stage, which I thought was a major stylistic error. And it was done for a very good reason to cover an edition shift and initially the Gods War and everything, but I thought that was a creative mistake because you don't have gods walking and talking amongst mortals and you lose the awe and wonder factor. And then increasingly it went on, and an arms race of sorts erupted, and that's something I want to change. So Storm Talons has controlled magic, not necessarily low magic, but magic that is just wandering down the street, hurling lightning bolts at people is going to gain you unwanted attention from a Gestapo, if you will, magical Gestapo, the Smite Serpents sent by the Hierophant. So this gives us a chance to do more what you might call lunch bucket fantasy, swords and sorcery, where the strength of your right or left arm and the dagger or sword or axe or sling that you're holding in it makes a little more difference than who's the fastest fireball. Welcome to everybody. A typical workday for me. There is no typical workday. I have a day job, and it's in shifts, so it changes things all around. I nurse my wife, who has grown to a ripe old age, and she at any time may interrupt me right now, with a phone call saying, help, I need help, and off I go. So there is no typical workday, but I can tell you that when I'm not commuting to work, grocery shopping, paying bills, doing laundry, all the usual stuff that everybody does, cooking, all that stuff, I am thinking creatively. I'm writing something, or I'm thinking about something, or somebody has handed me something that they've written to have a look at. We are collaboratively working on, say, the heraldry of a kingdom, or whatever it is that we're working on. So that's what we do all the time. Here at TEG, which is sort of ground central, you can see all the books around me, we are constantly working on new stories. So, and even when I'm asleep, I'm thinking about them. So there is no typical working day other than I am always thinking creatively at all times, even when I appear to be wasting time. This may explain some of the driving you see on the road. Maybe a lot of the other drivers are doing the same things. So, and I do still work on the Forgotten Realms every day, but I also try and work on all of the tag settings. I touch them as often as I can. I see a question here about why hasn't there been more information of the wars of the Talons? Here's the problem. Talking about the past as the dry and dusty past does nothing except restrict future stories, because you've said things, you've nailed things down in stone. So we would like to tell stories that excite and entice you of now. So that would either mean going back into the past or having a story reason in the right now that is tied to something in the past. I love painting in lore. I have done it for 50 years for the realms, a lot more than 50 years now. And I'm doing it every day on the other world settings. I either participate in settings that belong to other people, or tag settings that are partially mine. But it can be, lore writing can be a way of procrastination. It can be a way of not doing actual story writing, oh, I've got to detail the entire lineage of the kings here. I have to figure out how chamber pots work there. That's fine. Days pass, the months pass, the years pass, and you haven't written your thing. You know, that 16-year gap that Tolkien left Lord of the Rings lying at Balin's tomb in Moria. I hope that isn't a spoiler for anybody. Those things happen. Life happens. And one of the things I have worked hard from the beginning of my life is to have the ability to work creatively under all circumstances, not to be in my favorite fuzzy pink slippers with just the right music playing and a certain block of time set aside. One of the reasons I took a journalism degree years and years ago was to learn how to write when people are yelling, phones are ringing, typewriters are thundering all around you, and you're getting interrupted with updates. Just do it. And so that's what I try and do. I try and do a little bit more every day. I see some realms questions about when is the symbol coming back. The symbol exists in the weave as a ghost of the weave. A question about Flan getting raised by Flight of Dragons. No, that was not part of my campaign. My campaign is still before the Time of Troubles. It's very centered over the shoulders of characters who may seem from the outside to be great heroes. And they try to be movers and shakers, but they may not really be. One of the problems, the lens we see in fantasy, many stories told through, is we always seem to be in the throne rooms, looking over the shoulders of the royal family, or multiple royal families, Game of Thrones, for example, or looking over the shoulders of people who are powerful wizards or command powerful monsters. Again, Game of Thrones, the dragons. Stories work best when we see how normal people, to use a perhaps not apt word, daily rank and file people, how they have to deal with things. Wars, and it need not always be huge, full-on, all-out war. It can be just small disputes over things. Daily life, how it's affected by things. Those make the best stories. We can identify that with the most. We can see things most clearly, and we get to see people who are not professional heroes, professional mercenaries, professional this or that, professional rulers, make moral choices, sometimes forced upon them, sometimes not knowing what they're doing, sometimes scrambling desperately without having time to think, just time to react. And those are the things that most of us can identify with best. Hi, Brian. I hope you're enjoying San Diego. Comic-Con is grown too big for me. Now that I'm an old man who needs to sit down and doesn't want to walk miles, the allure of the large convention and the line that goes on forever has sadly ebbed. I like being right here, writing and talking to folks who love the creative imaginary worlds that I love to work on. So I see, whoa, yes. So, TEG. Let me tell you some stuff about TEG. First of all, TEG is a sensorium, a collective, almost a writer's collective. We work together on a whole bunch of created imaginary worlds, each one a different genre. Helma came out first, followed by Storm Talons. The Realms at TEG, which is just, we still publish through the DM's Guild. That's the only way we can publish the Realms, but we work together here at TEG. There are chances to collaborate with me on Realms Adventures. And Folklore is coming, and we have dozens of other settings after that. But rather than have the set schedule, which is what we started doing, we're now going to publish them when they're ready. So when and what comes up next is a little more nebulous than it used to be. So Ask me things. My goodness, ask me things. Will Elminster ever meet with Triss? They've met many times. You haven't got to look over the shoulders and see it because, hey, sometimes they just want to have a tankard together. Mm-hmm. Hi, Bob. Whining. But now that I drink less beer, I have to drink more wine. I have to do more whining. So, perhaps I should do some housekeeping. We have an Onder magazine giveaway. It ends tomorrow night at midnight. Check out Tag the Ed Greenwood Group. Go to the link, realms at the edgreenwoodgroup.com. If you sign up, you can get a free copy of All Things Through the Bright Flames, which is my first Mert tale. I'm now telling tales of Mert as he wanders the realms as a sort of not-so-secret agent for Lero, the Open Lord of Waterdeep, and he gets into trouble. And I was talking earlier about chances to collaborate with me on Realms Adventures. This is one of the ways you can find out about them, keeping up with the realms at theedgreenwoodgroup.com. Mm-hmm. So, ask me questions. My goodness, I see all sorts of things. What would you like me to talk about next? What I don't see is the questions I'm supposed to see. They are going away. When did I start playing? I started playing Dungeons and Dragons in earnest in 1978. I played it for the first time in 1975, but I thought that there was too many gaps in the rules, too many opportunities for everything to turn into an argument around the gaming table, because I was used to playing all sorts of war games. I started with very early board games and miniatures games, Donald Featherstone's type, paint up your Airfix soldiers, do a sand table battle. Much younger than that, and in my experience, gamers of all sorts, from your family playing a board game to gamers playing all sorts of things, could get into arguments at the drop of a hat. So I thought D&D was a great idea, but it was sort of collaborative storytelling, which everybody would argue. But then in 1978, when the Monster Manual, the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Monster Manual, came out, followed by the Player's Handbook, I said, oh, good, this is wonderful. And I started playing in earnest right then. I started writing for Dragon in 1979. And the rest, as they say, is history. Mm-hmm. Was the Forgotten Realms better served without being published? No, I think the Forgotten Realms is better served when you can all get your fix of the Forgotten Realms everywhere in the world, in every language, all the time. I know some gamers dislike the style of this or that, saying, well, that's too much information, or I don't need to know all this history, or that, but others lap it up. I would like to see it as a steady stream that you reach out and take from the stream what you'd like and let the rest roll on by. It's there if you need to look it up. If you don't have time to create 42 dragons in detail for your game session tonight, I did that for you. And then Sean Reynolds updated them all for the next edition of the game. So, we collaborate on the realms, and we give you tons of lore. We bury you in lore, and we bury you in excellent stories. There have been many talented storytellers, Bob Salvatore, Ari Salvatore, best-selling amongst them. But Aaron Evans, J. Lee Johnson, Eric Scott DeBee, Jeff Grubb and his wife Kate Novak were writing together. Many, many talented storytellers have brought us Tales of the Realms, and it's richer than when I, as the sole creator, am the bottleneck. Because no matter how little sleep I get, no matter how fast I write, I become the bottleneck. What is my favorite lesser-known character that I wrote about? I don't have favorites. I have characters that get less screen time than other characters because, for instance, oh, thank you. I should stop wearing them on my head now. TSR and later Wizards of the Coast wanted us to have signature characters, so I was writing about Elminster. But I always like to write about all sorts of characters. Again, as I said earlier, the man in the street, or the woman in the street, when forced into a moment of heroism or a moral choice, is more interesting to me than the wily veteran who's lived hundreds of thousands of years and seen everything. Okay, I will tell Volo to pay the bar bill, Stephen. I will probably have just about as much success as most people do when dealing with Volo and bar bills, but I will tell him. Kelly, suggestions on a wardrobe for Laryl. Well, okay. Laryl has silver hair, not white, silver, as in metallic silver, and she wears it long. Now that she's Open Lord of Waterdeep, she may let it flow free, so to the backs of the knees, or she may braid it, ponytail it. Now that she's Open Lord, she will probably be dressed in something quietly understated and tasteful that looks fairly plain but well made. As in, she doesn't have to. She's not Nuarish. She doesn't have to show off her wealth, and she doesn't have to show off her power. So she isn't going to stride around in a general's uniform or anything like that. She's going to dress with quiet taste, ankle length, gathered at the waist with a stomacher, dresses with long sleeves. But she can show up in just about anything. She could wear a war harness of leathers if she tends to do some roof scrambling or inspecting sewers that day. She'll be dressed sort of like Inigo Montoya in The Princess Bride, the sort of the worn, thiefly leathers. You never know. The Follows of Severash. Here's the thing. We, as readers and gamers, know more about what's going on in the realms than mortals necessarily do. So it needn't affect the followers all that much unless clergy preaching to them, giving them guidance, or the deity in their dream visions imparted to them makes a major shift in policy or what you should believe or what you should do or not do. And in most cases, there are not major shifts. And this is one such case. There are not major shifts. So the mortal followers, although they've heard these rumors, they are still doing what they used to do before. It is not affecting them all that much. The alliance between Alistri and Veron. It is a very loose alliance, as in it doesn't necessarily bind individual clergy or individual lay worshippers to suddenly become friends, leap into the hot tub together, and spend the rest of their days sharing meals and working hand in glove. Some of them can, but by and large, it just means that they are not trying to do each other's followers dirty anymore. You now turn around and deal with other things in your life rather than fighting each other. Will there ever be an animated series or live action movie of Elminster? I have no idea. I do know that Wizards of the Coast has reached a deal with Warner Brothers to do a Forgotten Realms movie. Um, would that have Elminster in it? Who knows? If it does, I'd like to play him. But then, like everybody else in the world, I would like to do this, but I might not get to. But I have no idea if Elminster would be in it. The problem with putting um, really powerful major characters in it, unless you're going to use them as a sort of narrator, they start to twist the story. It you have to write around them, or you somehow have to power up the scale of the story to give them a worthy challenge. And you might not want to do that for the story in your first movie, because if you blow the story in your first D&D movie, there might not be a second D&D movie. Now, I'm saying all this as speculation, not as somebody who is an insider working on the movie. So the short answer is I have no idea if it'll be a live-action movie of Elminster. It would be really cool. I would love to see one. Life experiences that helped influence me when I first began writing tales. Well, most of the life experiences that really shaped me was deaths. My mother died when I was 6. A whole generation of my family was dying just of old age, various ailments, but because they were old, as I was a little kid. So I attended a lot of funerals. I heard a lot of stories told at funerals about the dear departed, and funny things they got up to in the horse and buggy days. And not only did the people telling those stories not want those stories to be lost, I gained a new appreciation for what it is to be human. I know this sounds incredibly pretentious and pompous, but you are reduced in the end to some memories that other people have of you. Funny things you did, pratfalls you did, moments of great anger, moments you stood up for something, you drew a line in the sand and took a moral stand. And I thought, yeah, that's what it is to be human. And in the end, that's all we are. We build memories, and it's what we meant to other people. So those were my main influences. And then the other influences were reading every book I could lay hands on in my father's den. And he was a voracious reader and had everything in his den, from crappy pulp stuff to really heavy-duty physics stuff, because that's what he was. He was a physicist, a radar physicist. So, Helma. Yes, what is Helma? Helma is urban fantasy that need not take place in urban settings. It is our modern real world, and there are daemons among us. Demons in human speech, but they are not, they have nothing to do with the devil or Satanism or Lucifer. They are these weird creatures from another world, Arant, that is connected to our world with gates. There have always been some daemons among us as outcasts, misfits who didn't feel comfortable or was pushed out of the society in Arant. But very recently, 2 or 3 years ago, our time in the modern real world Earth, there was a civil war that ended with the defeat of the rebels, the people who wanted to change the status quo, and they were all exiled, pushed through the gates into Earth, and then the gates closed behind them, which meant there were too many demons running around for us to ignore. All demons can take human form. They all have their own preferred human form. They all have different powers and abilities, but they all regard humans as cattle to be eaten or exploited. So a Helma story could be a love story. It could be I'm going to set myself up, a demon, an Aurora, and I'm going to set myself up as the tin pot dictator of my own country. Or I'm going to kill and eat, therefore be a serial murderer, tons and tons of humans, or anything in between. We can tell all sorts of stories. And behind my shoulders, you can see a row of Helma novels we've published so far. And we're still publishing more. None of our settings ever end, per se. They keep going. And at the moment, we're telling lots and lots of stories in Helma of the exiles, the daemons who are stuck here on Earth amongst all these human cattle. And some of them want to get home, some of them want to hide, some of them are insane, and some of them are being attacked by other daemons. and it's their stories that we're telling in Helma. I see here. Is there any chance we could see more fiction, short story or otherwise, set pre-Time of Troubles? Yes, I love the old Grey Box era too, in part because that's where I am now, and have been in the Home Realms campaign, in part because it's the freewheeling time in which we haven't told a lot of stuff, and therefore our options are still open. Will we see more? Yeah, I think so. Oh, thank you, Matthew, for liking All Things to the Bright Flames. I'm working on the next one right now. And by the way, All Things to the Bright Flames, that sets up a good old-fashioned beginner's dungeon crawl adventure. And by beginners, I mean it is written so a complete novice dungeon master can handle it, not knowing the books. Each tale of Mert that appears on the Dungeon Master's Guild will have game stuff embedded in it. It has to have. And then it will also spawn an allied adventure. And there will also be an adventure I collaborate on with somebody else, or somebody else in the Sensorium Rights. And the first one is a collaboration with our contest winner, Clinton Krong, set in Ormpur, which happens to be the city in which that first tale of Mert is set. And I'm deliberately trying to hopscotch my way around the realms and stay out of the way of the main Wizards of the Coast storylines, both the big flagship products and the Adventurers League. I can't totally stay out of the Adventurers League because the Adventurers League stuff can spread geographically around the main storyline, but I'm trying to stay out of the way to show you other parts of the realms. How do I go about starting a new story? How do I keep tabs on all things in the realms? I'm crazy. That's how I keep tabs on all things in the realms. And by and large, I don't keep tabs on all things in the realms because I can't see what other people are doing. The outside licenses now. I try and find out as quickly as I can. How do I start a story? Stories start in different ways. One of the things I always do is when an idea occurs to me, I make notes, which is why you may find me in the bathtub, but I will have a notepad and pencil, because pens run, the ink runs when you get wet, within reach. Do not do this when you are hurtling down an interstate at high speed or flying a plane or whatever else, but otherwise always make a note of ideas as they occur to them. So I stories start from all sorts of things. I usually just plunge in and start writing. A new era for the Knights of Mithrandir and 5e Faerun. Who knows? In the Home Realms campaign, let's play it, get closer to that. In terms of, I have many, many, many plans. The question is, will I get the opportunity to do them? That's also up to Wizards of the Coast. So when it comes to will we see this? Will you have an opportunity to do that? Things change over time as the current copyright holder of the realms, which is Wizards of the Coast, take different approaches to the setting and the world and what they're going to do in it. And I just go along for the ride. And because remember, the realms has been going in print since 1979. And we've seen the realms in many different forms and permutations, and I just go with it. Any chance I have to give you more lore about the realms, I do. Any chance I get to tell another story of the realms, I do. I would happily write realms lore morning, noon, and night for the rest of my life and do nothing else. Now, if somebody would happily pay me like a millionaire and or just take care of all my bills for me, I don't care if I never see another penny, as long as, anything I want, I can have. Everything's up to date. All my taxes are paid. All the food is on the table, but that doesn't happen. So I like to do other creative things too, which is where Teg comes along. Chevy, yes, Baal is alive again. Merkel is alive. All the gods are back. Some of them may be changed markedly in power scale or portfolio. But remember, from the point of view of mortals, you know nothing about this for certain, other than your prayers are being answered again. There are priests again. They're talking to you again. So obviously they're still there, but you don't know any game rule details, no stats or anything like that. Whose idea was the Shadowvar and the fall of the Netherese? It's like everything else in the realms, it's collaborative. There are many people putting stuff in. The Shadow Masters were mine creation around from the beginning, the Malongra and so on. And they were taken up for a later realm story by many other people, and new plots spun. Jonathan, I will answer that question later, because there are NDAs about that, about Marlin Storm Serpent and Elminster Must Die. Yes. I will deal with that one later. What can the public expect from TEG between now and next year? Well, Jeff, it depends on what we get ready in time, because one of the things we're not going to do is promise anything anymore. I can tell you that unless barring horrible unforeseen mischance, I will be at Gamehole Con in Madison, Wisconsin in November. And there, among other things, we'll be debuting some new Adventures League adventures I co-wrote with Alex Kammer, the head honcho, the mastermind of Gamehole Con. There'll be another adventure I wrote in the world he's building, separate from that trilogy, and we'll be doing lots of other stuff and making announcements, including, hopefully, some Realms of Teg releases, and Folklore should be out by then. But did you hear that should be in my mind? That is the new thing about Teg. I dare not promise anything anymore, because we're still learning how to make all these moving parts work together. So it's better to just work on everything and then announce it when it's ready. And until then, we're just working on tons of stuff. Trust us, we are. Every day. So, how do I go about writing new stuff? How do I make it fit with everything else? Well, that's because you pay attention to what you've already written. In the realms, it gets increasingly hard not to overwrite or contradict previous lore. It's really hard because there's, 50 odd years of lore built up. I can't tell you how many times I've almost contradicted something and then said, wait a minute. So that bit's still working. What gave you the want to create FR instead of continuing on the Dragonlance series like so many other authors? Well, okay, first of all, I created the Forgotten Realms before Dungeons and Dragons existed, before TSR existed, long before Dragonlance existed. And I wasn't working on Dragonlance. I was not a staffer at TSR. I was a gamer sitting at home up in Canada. And I occasionally started writing articles for Dragon Magazine. So I wasn't working on Dragonlance. And it wasn't a case of continuing on to Dragonlance. I got to work with Margaret and Tracy, in particular, when Margaret was doing Dragonlance stuff post TSR. I got to work on Dragonlance, but I didn't look at Dragonlance and say, oh no, I'm going to create my own. No, Forgotten Realms existed before there was even a D&D game. I was just bringing it to the table of D&D. I don't have a favorite spell. I don't have a favorite character. How about a Drizzt animated show? Movies. How about them? I would love to see them. I think they would be cool. Again, it's not up to me. If they ever approached me about a new animated D&D series set in Faerun, where would you have them arrive? I'm going to presume here by this question you mean the characters in the show. I would almost want them to arrive in a small rural settlement that we've never seen before, and hear about the big famous places like Waterdeep and so on, and maybe get there later in the action, but not to start with. because I would want it to be focused on the characters first and foremost, and then to get the epic scope of the world around you, to stand on a high place and look out over the mountains, over the rolling hills, over the vast forests, in the same way that the Lord of the Rings movies show you the physical world, the landscape, so you understand what is being fought for and what life is like. I would want to see that first. So that's where I'd like to start. Why not a hot tub? Why not a hot tub? I agree. Kelly, I misspoke. Of course a hot tub. We should all have hot tubs. Elminster as Dungeon Master. You would absolutely hate having Elminster as Dungeon Master. Elminster is one of those whimsical, drawling, it's another fine mess you've gotten yourselves into. I'm afraid that if you'd found the secret door 3 rooms back, you would have been fine, but you didn't, so you're all going to die. Oh, no. Yeah, so, no, he would not be a fun Dungeon Master. He is too nebulous. What can we do as fans to make the future of Forgotten Realms novels less nebulous? I don't know. Most companies respond to 2 things. And the first and foremost is sales. So if you buy novels like they're going out of business, and then the second thing is, and politely ask for more, not demand, not threaten, politely ask for more, they may happen. But I don't know. At the moment, I think plans are otherwise. But that doesn't, plans have changed so many times over the decades that the Realms has been a published game setting. It has been done in so many different ways that I suspect they will change it again in future. But that's what I would do if I were you. I'm too busy writing new Realms thingy, and most of which I can't talk about. I agree, Kendra. I would prefer an original Forgotten Realms movie with original characters, perhaps cameos from the famous characters. I agree, rather than telling us the story of Elminster or the story of Drizzt. I think that would be a stylistic mistake, because you're setting yourself up for failure. If you tell the story of Drizzt, all these fans are going to say, but you left out this, or you didn't give us enough Jarlaxle, or we didn't get to see enough of his father, or you spent too much time on the matriarch. Everybody sees it differently. So I think it is always better to start with original characters. You can show and tell us about the famous ones off in the distance. So, I agree, Mike. It is unfair to ask for favorite. Answering the question, are there any of the new TEG products that stand out as diamonds in the rough to you? The honest answer is just about all of them. It's too early for me to share some of the stuff I have seen, because it isn't ready for publication yet. And one of the things I loved about the first 8 Helmon novels, the ones that have those gorgeous hardcovers you can see behind me, is they are so different from each other. They fulfilled what I hope we do, is say, this is a Helmon novel, and this completely different thing over here is also a Helmon novel, and all of these completely different things in the middle, these are all Helmon novels. And a Helmon novel can be all of these different things. And because they're so different, some people will like some and hate others, and that's okay. It's the whole point of giving you the full buffet. I mean, we'd all be bored if we were eating, pork and beans for the rest of our life every dinner time. But if you came to a huge buffet that was stretched on for miles with all different stuff on it, yes, you might be overwhelmed by choice at the beginning, but in the end, you'd love having the buffet more than having pork and beans every night. So in the same way, I want to give, all sorts of chances to all sorts of creators to do all sorts of storytelling and create all sorts of immersive products, so you can wear garments that we will sell you that are in the stories, that you can play games that characters play in the stories, dice games, card games, board games, that you can drink the drinks they drink, eat the sweets they sweet, that sort of thing. Everything that's in the story. I want all that variety, but for that reason, at the moment, I'm seeing everything as part of a whole. I'm not saying, oh, this one's really great, you got to get this. There are some things that impressed the heck out of me more than others, but in part that's, I can look at a story, say a novel like story, and say, oh, okay, I do that sort of story every day. So even though it may be very well done, it doesn't impress me as much as, oh, I could never write a story like that. Oh, wow, how did they do that? So from my personal point of view, that's more impressive. I agree, Rob. Yes. If you want to write, you must read and keep reading. You need input to do output. And that doesn't mean you read something and then copy it, plagiarize it, and put it on the page. It means you need input from all sources. It doesn't have to be reading other written things, although that's always valuable because you see how authors conveyed a story by, putting squiggles of ink on a page. But you pay attention to the news, do things, go camping, skinny dip in a lake at dawn when the mists are coming off the water, so you know what it feels like, what it looks like, what it smells like. Go out in the forest, go to a mountain, and just experience different things. Widen the depth and richness of your daily experiences so you have more input coming in. Because the more input you have coming in, oh, and by the way, we have these things called libraries that allow you to look up things from the past. And yes, it can be on the internet, but I mean, yes, there are books in actual buildings. I work in one. I work in public libraries by day. But I mean, you can call on the knowledge and lore of others, the opinions of others, and use all of that stuff as input for your output. But not writing, thinking about writing, or reading other people's writing. What do you like to do? And the answer to that would be sleep in the 2 or 3 hours that are left in a 24 hours batch. That's what I like to do. No, what do I really like to do? I like to hang out with friends. I like to lie around and chat about the world with people I like to be with. That's really what it's all about, hanging out with your friends and having good times. At this point, which evil deity and followers do you consider to be the largest threat to the realms? I don't know. See, they're all part of a tapestry. When I was creating the pantheon for the realms, I wasn't trying to populate. Okay, Laura. Got it. Hope I smiled at the right moments. I wasn't trying to populate the outer planes or anything like that. I was trying to balance the deities in alignment and portfolio, match portfolios to alignments and so on, to provide a balanced tapestry. And the evil deities that are the greatest threat are the ones that are on the ascendant at the moment and get the balance out of whack. It has a habit of restoring itself. Ashar, for instance, forgetfulness, loss, in the end, she is going to destroy her own followers as well as everybody else, and that usually destroys her plans with them. So who knows which one is the current greatest threat? I can't tell you because there are such things as NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. I know some things about the future that I can't share with you. So the short answer is I don't know. I am in the dark, which is a fun place to be, except, when it's too dark to write or read, because I love to read. Thomas, you're very welcome. I really enjoy working on the realms. I intend to go on working on the realms for the rest of my life. It will always be my first love. However, the fact that I've been working on the realms all my life, since I was 5, and I was 58 yesterday, so that's quite a ways. The fact that I've been working on the realms all that time meant there were a lot of cool, funny, crazy ideas that wouldn't work in the realms, like a modern romance idea. It would work in a modern romance novel. A sort of James Bond-like thriller secret agent idea that wouldn't work in a medieval come Renaissance setting. Matthew, that was Eric Boyd's lore. So you'll have to ask him. I created all these other worlds. I mean, steampunk came along since. Now, steampunk has actually been around. forever. We just didn't call it steampunk, and we didn't think of it as a separate genre. But when you think about it, Frankenstein by Mary Shelley is not just the first science fiction novel, it's also the first steampunk novel. Anyway, there's now a steampunk setting. These are things that I wanted to do creatively that didn't fit with the realms. Because everything you add creatively to a world tugs it in the direction of whatever you're adding. And there are some things you just don't want to add to the realms because it tugs it in this direction or that you don't want. Would Bob and I consider a crossover book that combines Helmaw and the Demon Wars? I would consider anything. Probably Bob would too. I don't think that fits, actually. I don't think it works with the world that we've seen in Demon Wars. I don't think it works with Helmaw. And it certainly doesn't work with some of the upcoming plans that we have at TAG. So, I would have to say the probabilities of a crossover book between Helmaw and the Demon Wars is not likely. But, we're creative people. We consider everything. That's, when I talked earlier about hanging out with friends and chatting, those are the sort of things we bat around because that's where you get cool ideas from. Kelly, will Mert ever gain proper table manners? No, he's Mert. He will belch and fart and lick his fingers at the table and smear them on the tabletop and have food all down whatever he's wearing for the rest of his life. But you could argue that he's already mellowed and learned some table manners. Because we're mixed company, I can't discuss the details at the moment. Because, just about anybody may see this video, so I can't be discussing about, sex on the table and stuff like that. So I would say that he's probably gained better table manners than he once had as a young, hot-headed youth. Where do the realms go? Terry, the realms don't go anywhere. The realms books are still, by and large, available. There is still a license held by Random House currently for Forgotten Realms novels. One of the things you can do is listen to the books on Audible and other places. You can buy them online, ebooks and so on. And I don't think they're ever going to go away. I think we're going to have new generations of readers, and I hope we're back in between boards soon, but who knows? I intend to go on telling stories of the realms for the rest of my life. So, as long as I stay alive for the next couple of years, you'll have more stories of the realms. And there's one of them, A Tale of Mert, called All Things Through the Bright Flames, that you can get right now at DM's Guild. Or if you follow that link, that realms at the edgreenwoodgroup.com and sign up, you would get a free copy of All Things Through the Bright Flames for a short, limited time. Which edition do you prefer to DM or play in? I actually prefer second edition, largely because the Home Realms campaign is in second edition because the players and the Dungeon Master vote, and my players wanted to stay with first edition until they saw the fullness of second edition, said, hey, wait a minute, can we switch to second edition? And can we keep first edition bards and second edition bards together? And I said, sure. But we voted, and they prevailed, and that's where we are now. We're on second edition. So if you do some role playing with me and I hand out my pre-generated characters, the Baron's Blades from Hawk Hill, you'll discover that although they are copyright TSR and have multiple copyright dates, as I've updated them over the years, they are second edition characters, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons characters. That is the edition that I think in most easily. I have designed for all editions of Dungeons and Dragons. I've designed in print for everything, but I'm sort of, without thinking about it, I default to second edition. So that would be my favorite because that's the one I don't have to think about the game. I can think about the story. When people say, hey, here's my new player class, or they argue heatedly about feats and spells and so on at this or that level, I can't really get overly excited about that because I don't really care about game stats and mechanics. Yes, I do as a designer, but they don't matter to me as much as cool story does. What's up with Mistra? She was killed but resurrected, right? So is she still a divine figure? Very much so. She's the goddess of magic. She's the weave. When Mistra's dead, the weave doesn't work reliably. Now it's working reliably again, so she's back. She is very much a divine figure. She is the most powerful deity. At the same time, she's the most constrained deity. Yes, tech lag. We live in a world of tech lag. I live in the country. Everything is bucket and string. The wine. My questions seem to have stalled again. Oh, well, more tech issues. So, Ben, every time something is adapted for another medium, some people are going to be disappointed with the adaptation. The other thing is, it's a different medium. It tells stories differently. So, inevitably, there are going to be disappointments. I do know that there's more planned in the future, and I also know that Terry Brooks is winding up the written Shannara fiction because he wants to bring it to a close, I think, on his own terms, rather than, dying before he finishes something. We all deserve a retirement, I would hope, and I think he wants to do it on his terms. In my own campaigns, how much is improvised versus pre-prepared and written? Are your notes comprehensive or one-line seeds? Here's the thing. These days, with the realms being so detailed, the stories sort of tell themselves. In the Home Realms campaign, role-playing is first and foremost. People act and speak in character. They decide the adventure. I provide the possibilities. Hey, there's an army knocking on your door. Oh, is that a dragon flying in the window, flaming all the stables? You might want to do something about that, sort of thing. So I will provide possible goads. They choose where they go, and they choose what they do. And they role play, and most of it's intrigue rather than fighting, for hours about what their characters want to explore. My job as a Dungeon Master is to take the world and bring it alive for them, not to run them through a prepared adventure. I have done that on many occasions. For one thing, for years, and I mean years, I have play-tested stuff for TSR and then later Wizards of the Coast. So we have sat down, all of us at the table, knowing we're going to go through this adventure. But never have they done lockstep through the adventure. The players reserve the right to go off into left field, to say, no, I'm not opening the next door. That princess we met 3 rooms back, I want to take her to dinner and ask her some questions. But, no, there's no but. As a Dungeon Master, fine, let's do that. So off we go. So they determine where to just go. So you would say that they are mainly improvised. I know what's on the table, what tools I have, what encounters they can fall into. But I don't set out to run them lockstep through anything. Unless it's a special thing like a convention tournament or an invitation-only game over the internet, in which we have a set time, and I will set up the classical dungeon crawl or other gauntlet where you can't make too many choices about where to go. You get to the end of the room and a gate or portal takes you to the next room. So you are sort of forced through a sequence of things. Other than that, I let the players do their own thing, which is why people say, well, why aren't there more Ed Greenwood modules and stuff? The old term for adventures, because I didn't write them, because that's not what I do. I provide the sandbox, and I let the player characters be the heroes that they're supposed to be role-playing. They get to decide where they go and what they do. Yes, I too am excited for Gamehole Con. For one thing, it's my chance to get out. For another thing, it's a chance to see Alex and all of his crew. Every year, these are great gamers. I love to spend time with them. I love Madison. I love the game hall itself, and I love the tavern around it. It is a cool, everything a convention should be. It hasn't grown too big, and it's beautifully run. It's everything. Yeah, I look forward to Game Hall because for the other thing, it is small enough. I still get a chance to talk to all of you guys. That's what conventions are for. And for everyone thanking me, you're very welcome. Thank you. Thank you for being a part of this all these years. Thank you for coming along on my new adventures, the Ed Greenwood Group adventures. We have new worlds and settings here. And the one thing we're going to try and do at the Ed Greenwood Group is give you immersive experiences. So for those of you who want more lore, for those of you who want to eat the food, wear the cloaks, whatever it is, we want to be there for you to provide that sort of thing so you have a setting to fall in love with. Not all the settings will be fantasy. Some will be science fiction, space opera, steampunk. There's one setting we have planned that goes back to the foundation of the United States, when George Washington is the first president, and there are people who do not want a federal central power to have power. They want to keep the power they already have, and there's sort of skullduggery stuff like the Highwaymen. Some of those settings are far removed indeed from the Forgotten Realms, but we want to give you fantasy settings you can fall in love with, and then we want to give you constant stream of stuff to do with the setting, so you can tell your own stories in the setting, do your own gaming in the setting, buy and read fiction all the time in the setting. That's the other thing. Since I sold the Realms way back in 1986, I have not controlled how the Realms gets out to you. So I would like to be back in the saddle where I can have more of a control over what you get in a world setting when, so that it unfolds before you in a way that is satisfying for all of us. James Warwick, I do have plans to do appearances in the UK. It will probably be quite a few years from now, and I have plans to do a world tour. Right now, I'm sort of tied to my house. I attend very few conventions that aren't within a day's drive distance. Gamehole Con is the exception, because I am my wife's nurse. I am also my wife's cook, and so I am sort of tied to here. So I can no longer do the wild conventioneering that I used to do. I would love to get back to your side of the pond. That's where my wife is from. I love it there, and I can't travel as much as I'd like to. Okay, Jonathan, question about a beer. How magic works in a beer. There is a weave there an hour before the sundering. Yes, there is. It is not called the weave or thought of the weave except by people from Toril. And we have no idea how much of an influence Mistra has in it, except Mistra knows that it is connected and that she can reach through there. But no, she's not dominant there. She is not the weave of a beer the way she is the weave of Toril. Can devils summon demons, or do they ever manipulate demons in the Forgotten Realms? Considering their eternal enemies and considering devils are master manipulators, I would think they would be more than willing to do so as the ultimate insult. Yes, Justin, they would be willing to do so. There is a problem. Almost always when devils try and summon demons, the summoning goes wrong. So the demons get the summons, and they either are free to ignore it or they arrive totally uncontrolled, which is bad news for the devil. So it's something that's not done. It's like saying, well, we could fix your pickup truck while driving at full speed down a superhighway by, smashing out the front windshield and then lying on the hood, ripping off the hood, and then trying to fix the motor with tools while we're driving along. You could do that, but the consequences would probably be bad, and be bad very quickly. And that's the same reason. That's why devils do not summon demons. Things always go wrong, majorly wrong, wrong in a hurry, it blows up in their faces. And they know it will, because it's been going on for thousands of years of attempts now. Thank you, Rob. Yes, the coolness of Rune is that the characters show us the wonder of the world through their eyes. Yes, every story is stronger when seen through the eyes or close in over the shoulders of characters in the world who are not necessarily world-shaking characters. Sometimes they can be. We can be there when important decisions are made. But, we need to see how decisions are made by people who aren't the bigwigs, too. Can we give Ed a chance to catch up, please? Mike, it's not that. It's the fact that when I do this, the comments freeze. So I'm looking at a static screen, and then all of a sudden it moves by itself. But for the last 10 minutes, I've been looking at the same static screen. And there's no way of scrolling it that I can tell. It doesn't respond to anything I do. Oh! Stan, you ask questions. Thinking of the Tree of Life. Will the elves ever get a hero or a group of them to bring elves from Evermeet to the mainland again? Or will they forever stay separationists? You're asking me about the decisions that intelligent sentient beings may make in the future. I don't know. Ask the elves. Not me. They're real. Okay. As a scribe of the realms, I would think that elves are going to go from Evermeet to the mainland again. I think they have secret agents there right now. I think some of them do go back and forth by gates. They just don't let it on. But they don't want anyone else to know. Shannon, you're very welcome. Corey, you're very welcome. And yes, yeah, happy birthday. But now that I'm 58, I don't wildly celebrate birthdays anymore. Birthdays were never the big thing, because when I was a little kid, I got socks, ties, and underwear. It was never very thrilling. My sister got the cool stuff. They got cakes. They got parties with their friends. I occasionally got a good book. Yeah, that was cool. Now I buy my own books, and people send me books. It's great. I win. No. Where would I personally place the Nether Scrolls? Stan, that's a very personal question. I don't think you want to retrieve them from where I'd put them. My goodness. Yes, Laura, I live in libraries too. Yes, I'm daily in the library. I'm in my own library, this one that I'm sitting in when I'm not in the public library. Mm-hmm. What is the one aspect of fantasy fiction you wish would just fade away? A trope or overused plot device, perhaps? I think far too many fantasy tales bring the gods on stage, and we see the gods fighting the gods, or we see mortals who do not realize that they are a new god, or that they are son or daughter of the god, and they have a destiny with a capital D. I think that's been overdone, and I think it takes away from the agency of true heroism. If you're following a divine script, if you're following your destiny, then you're not really being a hero, are you? You're just punching the time clock. I like it better when it's real people making difficult decisions that the world thrusts upon them. I also think many writers would do well to consider trying to craft smaller stories than just starting a war that covers their entire setting, plunging everybody into it, and using it as the mover and shaker background. What do I think is the next big trend in fantasy fiction? I have no idea. If I knew that, I'd be rich beyond the dreams of avarice. I'd like to create trends. I don't like to think about what somebody else may be trending. No, honestly, I don't know. Because fantasy fiction has come in my lifetime from being something that wasn't admitted or talked about. It was referred to in other terms, or it was not considered literature at all, into something that has become the mainstream. So I am not a good seer or predictor of that. Otherwise, I would be so rich. I would own the internet. Yes. Vinny, you're very welcome. Dawn, Thank you. Thank you, Sean. My goodness. Oh, what is Elminster's favorite spell? George, Elminster doesn't have a favorite spell. Really. That there was a gag thing I wrote up for in 1986. I wrote it up for TSR. Elminster's favorite spell was Go Away, and it was a spell that took anybody who was in his presence that he didn't want to be in his presence, and that included, biggies like Manchun, avatars of deities, and it hurled them back to their least favorite place to be, with dirty dishes all around them. They lost all their clothes, magic items, weapons, and everything in the whirlwind journey, and a whole bunch of things that they desperately had to do waiting in front of them piled up. The honey to-do list. And it said, there, go away. But for some strange reason, they didn't want to publish that spell. I think they considered it unbalancing. And the other favorite spell would be, just read this book for me, will you? It would be a little thing that read all the books, and it just said, nah, not worth your time. Oh, this is a nice little scene. This is a nice phrase. And it just took them and handed them to Elminster. Hi, Rich. I can only see half your comment because it's frozen yet again. There we are. Why is it we never see you and Elminster in the same place at the same time? Because Elminster is a master of cunning disguise. Yes. By the way, folks, Rich has a cool space opera book coming out from Tor. Those of you who like the Lensman series, this is a step to the right of the Lensman series. I really enjoyed it. I hope it turns into a series. Why is it we never see me and Elminster in the same place at the same time? Because Elminster sets up a mortal to be a fall guy, and I am his fall guy for my sins. Yes, Lee, we do need a new D&D Forgotten Realms PC game. We do. And buying it should be legally required for everyone in the world. They should all have to have it on their PC. And I should get all the royalties. But there's a difference between what should and what will be and what is. And that difference is what you can do. So, Lee, if you could program this new game and convince Wizards of the Coast to license, or Hasbro, I guess it is, to license it from you, so you could do it, this would be the way to go. If you want to see a cool new game, build it, and they will come. I think someone said that already. My goodness. Ooh. Ooh, yes. The helpful link. I take it we are in great tech lag. I know I have great tech lag. My goodness. I can only see 10 comments out of the 219 so far, and they're not moving. They're just static, so I can only see half of them. Matthew, I'm sorry you have to go. I can see your comment. I have to go, so I'll leave with this, and then I can't see the rest of this. So we'll have to wait until the comments shift again. My goodness, tech fails us one more time. We need magic. Bing! Aw. Something happened. I don't know what it was, but it happened suddenly. Oh, something else happened. Oh, my goodness. Things are happening, folks. Things are happening around me. It's magic. And this is just the sort of magic we intend to brew, we happy few at the Ed Greenwood Group. We are building new worlds for you. New worlds you can fall in love with. And that's what I intend to do for the rest of my life. Has there been any progress on the Hooded Ones project about sex in the realms? Obviously, don't go into details if there are any. Yes or no is fine. Matthew, NDA applies. I cannot tell you. What I can tell you is don't hold your breath on seeing such a thing published. Because for some strange reason, but however, I can say that the Hooded One has been very busy on other fronts, and it's possible you'll see something from her pen in the future. Possible. So, what else can I blather about? What else can I tell you about? What else would you like to hear about? Should I tell you about more about Helma, more about Storm Talons, more about Folklore the Affliction? Yes, I've finished the first Folklore the Affliction novel. It's called The Whispering Skull, and it goes with a game called Folklore the Affliction that will be coming out from Greenbrier Games, which is a really cool board game that is also partially a role-playing game and has really cool minis, and it considers scary things, but scary things of old, and it's, if possible, it's a family-friendly horror game. I know that all sounds really weird. To find out more, you'll just have to experience Folklore the Affliction. And then, of course, there's the Realms at TEG, which is the Forgotten Realms, stuff that you purchase through the Dungeon Masters Guild that we work on here at TEG, Tales of the Realms, Adventures of the Realms. Now, if you go to the Dungeon Masters Guild, you can't just put up fiction. You have to put up fiction with embedded game stuff, and you can't put up any long-form fiction. So I've been telling tales of Mert. All Things Through the Bright Flames is the first one, in which Mert is sent to the city of Ormpur, the city of Saffron. And there is a tale with some magic items, spells, character write-ups, and so on embedded in it. And there is an adventure that will be coming out, I think, at Gamehole Con to go with it. Or maybe earlier. Who knows? Yes, R.A. Salvatore and Ed Greenwood need to hit films and make movies. Yes, we need to have kidney-shaped swimming pools full of champagne. We need to have mansions on all coasts. We need to be wealthy. We need to be big wheels at Hollywood. If only we had the time. But yes, I would love to do that. Bob and I are good friends. I would love to collaborate with him on just about anything, and I would love to see him do his own stuff, just as I'm trying to do my own stuff. And I would like to see it all be popular. I do know that he's going back to Demon Wars and giving us more. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to anything from Bob Salvatore's pen. The man is a born storyteller. And yes, it would be great if we were movie stars too. But I'm sorry, with my advanced years in my belly, I'm not up for the racy scenes that I might once have starred in. So I'll just have to be a color character actor. How's that? How does magic in Storm Talons differ from the Forgotten Realms? Sure. Okay. Magic in the Forgotten Realms is as set forth in the Dungeons & Dragons game, whichever edition you're playing. Magic in Storm Talons is also two sorts, also what a particular edition of the D&D game would call either arcane magic or divine magic. In other words, the priests of Religor have spells that they get by praying. And what's actually given to them depends on the deity. They could pray for, give me divine fire to smite the enemy, and they get handed petunias. It's up to the deity. The other sort, which are spells that you either learn from a book or you craft your own and hopefully write them down for somebody else to learn from a book later. But so for you get the same spell effect in which you use particular components and you create a magical effect. In other words, wizard spells. They are controlled by and large by the Hierophar, who is the tyrant archwizard who rules Scalant, which is this kingdom he cobbled together from formerly independent and rival city-states. And if you are a powerful mage, in Asmer, the world of Storm Talons, and you use powerful magic publicly, a Smite Serpent band, which is a sort of war band, wizards with bodyguards with them, shows up in short order and gives you the choice of working for the Hierophar or dying on the spot. You work for the Hierophar or we kill you. And therefore, you don't have wizards wandering around as player characters plentifully as you might in the realms. So that's the big difference. The other difference is there's a lot less understood about magic in Storm Talons, and the mists themselves, the Storm Talons, change and alter things. Yes, I am happy Mr. is back too. There was no one for Elminster to have those heart-to-heart chats with in quite the same way without Mr. And now there are again. And we're experiencing another technological lag, folks, because my poor internet is overtaxed. Stan Heath asks me, do you think Karsus was power hungry when he cast Karsus' avatar, taking Mistress Power, or do you think he was attempting to do anything he could to save his people? I got news for you. Karsus was power mad. Karsus was insane. Karsus equated what Karsus wanted and the exaltation of Karsus and the gaining more power for Karsus with what was best for the world. So he wasn't trying to do what was best for his people, other than the fact that he thought that what was best for Karsus was best for everyone. No, Karsus was neither a nice man nor a sane one. At the time he cast that spell, he was, the absolute power corrupts absolutely. He was the embodiment of that, or one of them. Ask me more things. Oh my goodness. Come, computer. Behave. Function. All those things. How do the gods function in Storm Talons? Okay, yes, they are more distant than in the Forgotten Realms. Okay, in Storm, for the Forgotten Realms, because I was creating a large pantheon for two reasons: A, to balance all of those permutations of D&D alignments, and B, to just so overwhelm my players, they had to role play. When they burst into a room and there was a black altar in front of them and people chanting around it, they couldn't just say, they must be the evil bot, and let's just plunge our swords into them. They would have to stop and listen. Okay, what deity is being worshipped? Because we all believe every deity. I've never seen this before, but, every deity has its place and has every right. Okay, what? So I created a large pantheon. For Storm Talons, I created a very small pantheon, the 6. There are 6 deities. There are other cults and so on, but they're all worshipping aspects of the 6. They may not know or even believe that they are aspects of the 6, but they are. So the difference from the realms, the published realms, there was too much for my personal taste, deities on stage doing stuff. In Storm Talons, the priests of Religor serve all of the 6, and there are priests everywhere. And Religor is sort of the land of where the priests rule, and they set the tone for everybody else. So that they try and issue decrees and pronouncements, but the deities speak to everyone. So if somebody goes off the rails in Religor and says something that the deities don't agree with, the deities just tell everybody else in the world, no, they're mistaken, and the deities get believed, not so the gods in Storm Talons are far more of a guiding distant ethos and far less, you will do this on a daily basis. Um, in other words, I'm crafting a world in which agency is given back to mortals to make their own moral decisions far more. There aren't any holy wars or crusades. What we have is the priests of Religor as a collective group being the offsetting balance of power to the Hierophar, the tyrant archwizard. So the Hierophar can't be the ultimate tyrant controlling everybody in the world because the priests of Religor stand against him. But other than that, that's how the gods differ. They are more distant in play. In other words, you, as characters, either playing in games or acting in stories, have more moral choices to make on your own and less daily guidance from the cleric or the altar or whatever. You have to make some decisions on your own. The deities are far less about, you shall not, face east when doing this, you shall not eat watercress sandwiches after 3, that sort of thing. There's far less of that, and there's far more of, as a deity, I stand for this. You should be planting things, you should nurture things, not destroy them, that sort of thing. General ethos. Robert, I agree. I love the realms too, and I would love to have detailed index books for all the information that's been published to date. I would love that. We tried to do that once. We had a realms indexing project on the go that was halted without anything being published after years of work back at TSR. One of the things it did do was codify for their own internal use where and what a lot of the stuff was. And even then, I was way ahead of them on filling in the details and publishing stuff, because one of the things that you may have noticed when watching Eric Boyd and George Crashow's Crash, and later on with Cormier Brian Cortio, is fans of the realms love to fill in lore, to fill in the little gaps, to explain away the inconsistencies, and to make reams of new lore to do that. I do that too. So to me, that's the most fun lore, and I would love to see that, and I would love to do more of it. But we are constantly generating new realms lore. There's never a static thing. So those index books would be out of date the moment they were printed. Any tips on growing such a magnificent beard? Yeah, don't cut it off. To be serious, if you ever have problems growing anything, I'm told that rotting bananas, because of the potassium, rubbed on the bit that you want to have more hair and kept on for as long as you can stand the insects, because it attracts hornets and everything else, is the best way to grow hair if anything's going to grow. Truth, really. This is not how I got this beard, by the way. And how do you grow a magnificent beard? Well, ladies, if you'd like to grow a beard, comb your eyelashes long. I'm told that's the. For the rest of us, living through all these years of hard living will get you this, particularly if you're a hermit. And yes, I do look somewhat like Elminster Mindless, the Hawkbeak Nose, yes. And for those of you who think I copied Elminster on me, patterned Elminster on me, and Elminster's my Mary Sue, I'd like to remind you that I was 5 years old and did not have a beard or white hair, did have thick glasses when I thought of Elminster. So it's more like Elminster has influenced me and I have grown into being Elminster, rather than that I put myself into the realms as Elminster. Ancient settings, as in Egypt or ancient Greece. Well, yes and no. We have some imprints that might touch on that. We have one setting, and I'm not going to give any more details other than to say, if you're familiar with Cthulhu, you might have an inkling of this, that might vaguely touch on ancient Egypt. There's another setting that involves art that might, again, however remotely, touch on ancient Egypt. But the setting the two settings I'm thinking most of that have specific in the past historical times. One is a steampunk setting that is set at the time when Napoleon has been put away for the final time, and there's a Congress to sort of divide up Europe in his wake. One of the Congresses, but the one that was after he was. And the other one is the one I was mentioning earlier, Against the Masks, which is in America, the United States of America, with George Washington as the first president, coming up to the second Congress in Philadelphia that hasn't happened yet, in between the first and second Congress, where George is, promoting these ambitious plans to have a secret service, a mail, centralized power, Department of Justice, all these things. And the people who already hold power in certain colonies don't want to lose that power by having a central federal government. So they try and work against him. So we're set just at that time period. I don't yet have plans to go back in detail to Egypt or ancient Greece, but there are things I can't talk about yet that will touch on them, and you'll get to see them in about 10 years if we're lucky. Harris, what is my favorite non-Forgotten Realms AD&D world and why? I don't have favorites. I really don't. I'm not trying to dodge questions like that. I really don't have favorites. I devour everything. I enjoy everything. I drop into everything. I like them for different things. And again, if you say AD&D, you leave out the known world, Mystara, which was D&D, not AD&D. See, I don't have favorites. You see, Dragonlance was a world built around a story, an epic story, whereas Greyhawk was developing from Gary's campaign play, and Gary was the bottleneck. We were always waiting for, Castle Greyhawk or the next piece, and he was too busy, particularly as Dungeons & Dragons took off and he was trying to run this company and write all these cool adventures. He was too busy to give us the bits of Greyhawk that he wanted to give us. And so we were always waiting and waiting and waiting. But I like all of them for their different things. Lankmar was an AD&D world because they briefly had the license, and I enjoyed those products, and that you probably won't even remember. Most gamers won't even remember as an AD&D world, but it was in there for a bit. So I don't have a favorite. I like them all for different things. I devour them all with equal hunger, because that's what it's all about for me, getting all the toys. Oh my, we're almost out of time. My goodness. Yes, we're almost out of time. And yet again, the comments are stalled. And I can't thank you for all the good wishes for my wife. She's 82, so I don't think, she's going to regain the bouncing energy she once had, but who knows? She might. It's magic. But let's see if we can squeeze in some more questions before this all dies on me here. Because as you know, the internet is a jealous god. And what did you find, Jeff? Does AO ever get lonely? No, of course not. What? Yes. No. No. Facebook is controlled by Cyric. I don't know if Cyric can control anything. Cyric's sanity is a little suspect for all that stuff. Yanni, I very much doubt I will be able to make Gen Con this year. I made a few Gen Cons early on, and then every single Gen Con from 17 onwards until 3 years ago, I missed my first one in that long run, and I haven't been able to come back first for two reasons. I'm staying home to be with my wife, as I mentioned earlier, and the fact that Indianapolis is not a hub, so I can't easily get there for a few hours and then back again in the same day. So I'm not there for my wife when she needs to be put to bed and so on. I can't manage it. Perhaps if I get special security clearance from the Pentagon and the White House, and perhaps if I get my own private jet, and perhaps if I build my own airport right here in my backyard so I don't have to drive 140 miles to get to the nearest Canadian international airport, and I can just jaunt down there, maybe that can change. But no, it doesn't look good for me making it to Gen Con this year, which is a real pity, because for me, Gen Con is a chance to meet a lot of my friends and catch up every year. I get to have lunch or dinner with some old friends. Carrie Bebris, fellow designer and writer from the realms from way back. Aaron Evans and Susan Morris, who both written in the realms and edited in the realms. Susan was my editor for my editrix for a lot of my later realms novels, and Aaron, I have worked with on a lot of the Sundering and a lot of plot work involving Cormier over the years, and we would get together and on many other people who were just my Gen Con friends, gamers I saw every year at Gen Con, and I would try and go out for a pint or two in a local bar or dinner or lunch, just a chance to catch up, and I will really miss that. But if you want to see me, Gamehole Con. I still intend to get there. Any exclusive tidbits that we can have for archive eyes only? I don't know. What sort of tidbits would you like? My problem is most of the Realms tidbits, they are protected. They, as in Wizards of the Coast owns them, and there's things I'm working on. I've been working on most of the Realms products since everything changed recently. I've actually, worked on them, Folo's guides and stuff like that, and there is some stuff coming up that I can't talk about that I'm working on. So, exclusive tidbits. I don't know what exclusive tidbits I've got, except for the tag stuff, because tag I do control, and that hence the link that Kat provided for you. Kat, by the way, is ably helming all of the stuff right now for us, and is truly wonderful, because she is making it possible for me to breathe again, and certain other people in tech to have sanity again, or at least reasonable facsimile thereof that can fool some people for 5 minutes at a time, so we can get some creative stuff done. And my goodness, it looks like I've already overstayed my time. That happens. I always overstay my time. I wish I could stay more and chat more. I wish I could get to more of these questions. I wish I could see more of these questions. But we'll have to do this again. So for now, go on loving the realms. Please say hello to Teg and have a look at what we're doing. Good gaming, good reading, good lives, everybody. Have fun. Thank you.